Jessica Jones. I'm the Cryptid Huntress. And man, we have a wonderful show for you guys today. We're going to be looking into interdimensional, multidimensional imaging technology today. And there is a gentleman who has been taking pictures of what look like to be interdimensionals, a little demonic, a little clownish, and sometimes a little funny looking. We're going to be showing some of those pictures today and discussing this technology and a lot more. And to help me discuss this today, I do have our good friend, Dr. Dennis Carroll, here in the studio today. He has a lot to talk about as well. And we have some things to branch off into today too, some rabbit holes, I guess we could say. So you guys get ready and go get your popcorn and get ready to dive deep down some rabbit holes. All right, if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and things that I'm doing, please go to my website. That's cryptidhuntress.com. All of my shows, all of my events will be there, including the East Tennessee Squatch Out this weekend. I'll be out in East Tennessee doing some squatching with a bunch of people and with Manimal Research. And I think some of the guys that I go out and do some dogman and Bigfoot hunting with are going to be showing up for a little while we're out there too, to come say what's up. So shout out to Cryptid Warfare and all those guys. I hope to see them this weekend as well. So we got that coming up and a whole bunch of other events. So please go check that out on my website. Also, I do have a Patreon. That's the Cryptid Huntress on Patreon and War Woman Goods on Etsy. If you guys would like to support my work and my channel and everything I'm doing, it's a great way to support. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. And also you can become a member of my channel as well. I do put exclusive content on my YouTube channel for all of my YouTube Hunt Club members. And yes, we did hit 10,000 subscribers over the weekend. So thank you guys so much for all your subscriptions and for all the support over the years. It's been a crazy, I think it's been like, what, 3 years I've been on here? And started off as a spiritual guidance channel. And here we are talking about Bigfoot and cryptid. So thank you guys so much for all the support. It's a big milestone. And I do have a giveaway today. Okay. And at some point we're going to, before the show's over today, we're going to do a little giveaway. So y'all stay tuned till the end. Okay. And we'll do a Cryptid Huntress giveaway for one of my lucky viewers. Okay. All right. Well, let's get into this show because we don't have 2.5 hours again today. I see Eric in here. He and I had over a 2.5 hour show on Saturday night talking about Viking werewolves. So if you guys missed that, what's up, Eric? Please go back and watch that. It was a wonderful show. We had a really good time over there. So this will be a little bit shorter today, about half that time. Okay. All right. So on this episode, we're going to be exploring the multidimensional images captured by Daniel Nemes using his Intervision technology. Inventor and scientist Daniel I think it's Nemes, actually. Nemes' interest in dark matter led him to create and cultivate technology he calls Energivision, which captures and records interdimensional beings and objects from other dimensions. The mainstream media has shown little interest in this discovery, but his technology has the potential to provide insights into dark matter, dimensional realities, and even extraterrestrial life, which could alter humanity's understanding of the universe. Nemes has posted over 1,000 images of what he says are interdimensional beings on his Facebook page. I think he's probably got like 1,500 actually. We have a good chunk of those here to show you guys today because they are fascinating. He does get scoffed at by some of the scientists that are out there. He is a scientist himself. I believe he's based out of Colombia, if I'm not mistaken. But he has taken some really interesting pictures. I'm going to let you guys decide what you think they look like and let us know what you think. Put some messages in the comments and in the chat today. And to help me go down this rabbit hole, I do have Dr. Dennis Carroll here, who has decades of experience in the paranormal, the supernatural, the occult, cryptid, UFOs, demonology, and interdimensional studies. Please help me welcome to the show our good friend, Dr. Dennis Carroll. Hey, Dennis.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Thank you for being here today. We're going interdimensional.
I was sitting here listening to your opening about the camera work and all that. Do you know when the first selfie was taken?
No.
The
When was that?
photography goes way back, and the very first selfie that was taken was 1839.
Wow.
Yeah.
1839, an actual selfie.
But we've had photography along. We've had the photographic stuff along for a long time. And when paranormal research first started out back in the early or late 1800s, early 1900s, photography was just in its infancy then. But there was a lot of spiritual photography and stuff that went on then as well. Supposedly, of course, a lot of it were hoaxes. But some of it was some very interesting stuff. And I was thinking about that when you showed me some pictures that this guy has taken. His name is Neems. He's a very interesting fellow. It is some downright very spooky looking, definitely, and very interesting images. I've played around with this myself some, okay, and that's why I'm so interested in it. It is a fascinating hobby.
Oh wow, yes. Okay, super interesting. We know we've all, just about everybody has taken a picture. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people in the paranormal community, we've taken pictures and there have been orbs in the pictures and you can see faces in them, and sometimes we capture a ghost or something weird that isn't really from this reality that we live in, or we don't think it is. And so I think what he's doing is a little bit different though, but I mean, it could be comparable to that, right? When we're actually picking up things that some people can't see with their own eyes. Some of us can see it, others can't. And I think it may be the same with some of this technology as well.
Well, we talked a lot about in the past, Jessica, about portals. Portals are the doorways that we think that open to other dimensions. But let me say this: portals can sometimes be windows, and not just doors. Something that you can see through. And I think what this guy's trying to do is to open some of those windows to see what might be on the other side, and sort of piercing the veil kind of a thing. It's very fascinating. And we've always wanted to see more of this unseen part of our universe. And there's so much of it that we can't see with the human eye, or even some of our equipment doesn't do that. So that's why we have to adjust it. And here's the interesting thing that I think this guy is doing in his research. He's not only I think he's utilizing filters, but he's also using, I think, what we call slow photography. In other words, the exposures are very extremely slow and low. I think he's using that because he also talks about mathematical properties of this stuff. Einstein said, Jessica, that everything is energy. Everything is energy.
Mhm.
It includes spiritual energy as well. And whether you can see it or not does not make it not be there. Definitely.
That's right. Well, let's show the audience who the Daniel Neems is, and so if you guys want to go look it up online for yourself, it's Daniel Neems, Nemes, and he Nemes. That's right, and he is actually a scientist and inventor in Colombia, and he was really interested in dark matter. Okay, when I looked him up, I actually found I think he did some research at Yale. I want to say Yale University, but don't quote me on that. Okay, so but he said that he started getting interested in the multidimensional universe after he read a magazine article that attracted his attention about the dark matter of the universe. Then he came up with the idea of devising technology through optical experiments along with mathematical calculations, like you said, that would allow him to take images of multidimensional beings. Now, he combined special lenses along with sunlight from Mother Nature and screens that are ultra sensitive that he invented himself. With this invention, he claims that he can capture images that are of unknown origin. The images come from other planes and show multidimensional beings. Now, something interesting to note is that all the articles that I found said that they always quoted NASA. I don't know why they just say NASA. Out of all the agencies that we have, they say NASA and other companies must surely want to get their hands on this technology but he has not exposed his invention. I think he's been laughed at a lot, according to what I was reading. But he said that he's going to hold back the technology, but the scientific community is aware of it. But he's just kind of been made fun of, and the media has silenced him on this. But some of the articles actually say that he's gone missing. Okay, that he hasn't been seen or heard from. Now, I don't know the validity of that, but that's what some articles, what some of the social media posts are saying, that he has.
That would not surprise me. That would not surprise me if he turns up missing. A lot of people have turned up missing that have done some stuff like this, absolutely. And the UFO community is full of a lot of missing people and strange deaths and supposed suicides. You run into that a lot when you get into this kind of stuff. But NASA, I'm going to say this about NASA. They have photography that is enabled to gauge chemicals and mineral compounds and stuff just with photography. Now, think about that a moment. You can look at certain planets or certain solar systems in the galaxy and look at some of these planets and know what they're composed of sometimes with just mere photography. So photography has come a long way from 1839 when a guy took his first selfie. It's come a long, long way. And it is now, photography is now considered, in certain instances, a scientific instrumentation. In other words, it's a scientific instrument.
Oh, yeah. Well, it really reminds me of those dicyanin dye goggles, too, because to be honest with you, Dennis, that's the highest watched show that I have on my channel, is the dicyanin dye goggles show that I did with John Vendeventer. And I mean, tens of thousands of views on that.
Do you remember aura photography? The photography they could take the auras of people. That's where a lot of this started with. Okay, and you're actually, some people think that what you see with the aura is actually the spiritual manifestation of that person. In other words, it looks like a halo around them, you know. But take a look at that. I mean, that is freaky looking right there. I would not want to run into something that looks like that, definitely. But that is very alien looking to me. I don't know to you. What it looks like to you. It looks like that to me.
It is. Well, I'll go through a few of these pictures just so the audience can get an idea. The audience who's watching today, because I know my podcasting audience won't be able to see it, but you can go to my YouTube channel and check it out, or go to my social media. I did put some of these on my social media today. But this one actually looks like something out of ancient Egypt, like a pharaoh or a goddess of some sort or something. You know, your mind looks at, you kind of sees what it knows, these things. And it's almost like that ink blot test with some of them. But they do look kind of a little demonic, some of them. I mean, this one right here, of course, someone did a side-by-side that I found that it did look similar, Baphomet.
Yeah. That is freaky.
Definitely. It is.
Oh, that's very demonic too. I have actually on occasion seen demonic entities that look very much similar to the stuff that you're showing today. They can take on this type of imagery. Absolutely. It is disturbing to see this captured with photography, really, in that aspect. But I've actually seen human faces morph into things that look very similar to that.
Oh, you have? That's really scary. Okay, Urso has a really good comment here, because I was going to bring this up today. It says, looks like the mechanical gnomes from the DMT crossing realities. And I actually put that in the title, and I think it's machine elves is what those are called.
Let me say this about demons, okay, Jessica. It's a very interesting aspect of demons is that they have their own imagery that they like to use to disturb people, to cause you fear, whatever the situation was. They play with your mind with this imagery. That's what they do. And they have certain images of themselves that they love to promote. So they have, this is the weird, freaky thing. Demons have signature imagery. They have their own signature type imagery. That's strange, but it's true.
They do. Well, you know, he talks about how he's tapping into extraterrestrials, okay, ETs, and some of these do look like what I would think an ET would look like, and I've seen ETs personally. I've seen at least 2, 3, or more. But some of these look like something straight out of Star Wars to me.
There's
You know,
one image you've got there. It looks like an ant or a insect type looking
Mhm.
thing. That is freaky. That is very much like an alien looking thing.
I do. I know. I mean, you could just stare at these images all day because you can see so many things in them, and the more you look, the more you see. Okay, so now is it our imaginations, or is it pareidolia? I mean, that could be something as well, but once you
So
start,
there are rumors, and here's the connection with this: that certain images like this have been seen at CERN. In some of their experimentation, they've actually seen images very much like these, sort of the ghost in the machine kind of a thing. Definitely, you've got something going on that's very interdimensional, whichever way you look at it.
it is. Well, we talk about interdimensional all the time. That's a word that comes up a lot when we're talking about the cryptid research and people asking, well, where do the Bigfoots go, during the day, or when they just kind of disappear. And there's, the different camps of the flesh and bone camp, and then there's the X Factor supernatural camp of Bigfoot researchers.
I think certain beings are able to step over from one reality to another interdimensionally, however you want to put it. I think they can do that. That's how they disappear or reappear or, come into our reality. Oh, absolutely. And I think that's part of the shape-shifting thing, too. We won't get into that today about shape-shifting, but that is part of it. That's what they utilize, these things. And that's just like stepping through a doorway. That's all it is for them. But it's a time and space doorway type thing. Very
Mhm.
interdimensional.
Yes, and it's not just faces of entities; it's actual objects too. There's one here that appears to look like a totem pole,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is really odd. Okay, so like an interdimensional totem pole,
Well,
and also there are UFOs in here as well, like spacecraft looking
that's the thing.
objects and stuff.
That's the thing. It kind of struck me, Jessica, when I saw those pictures you sent me. That this is like an imagery they're putting forth for the sky, and that makes me suspicious of what intelligence is behind this. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. That's true. And yeah, Eric says could be pareidolia, but if not, go eat equipment for research. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. It's really odd. Okay. And but these look like they have faces in them and stuff too, and it looks like art of like on ancient Egyptian walls and stuff too. Some of these things, but they're all kind of different, but they're all very spooky and look demonic. And when he says that he is capturing images of ETs, well, here's the age-old question that I get a lot: are ETs demonic? Okay, and extraterrestrials, are they demonic? Well, I don't know if he's considering these to be extraterrestrials. They certainly look that way.
Well, you know me. I think they're both one and the same. Actually, it just depends on which way you want to look at it. But I think they're both one and the same when you talk about them in that respect. I won't get into that today either. But to me, this type of imagery is definitely very demonic looking. I just get that feeling of the demonic when you look at something like this, because like I said, they're all about imagery. They use it, they weaponize it. They would definitely put forth things like this for this guy to see. Absolutely. Once you pull that veil aside, Jessica, you see things. You may not see them for what they truly are, but sometimes you may see them for what they want you to see them, the way they want you to see. That's the interesting aspect of some of this stuff.
Well, okay, Linda, I'm with Linda. Linda says they look like clowns. And Dennis, I told you that before we went live. I was telling you, I think that some of them do look like clowns. They look demonic. They look like clowns.
That's why people think clowns are so evil, Jessica. They are parodies of human beings. They're sort of the next step beyond human beings. They're us, but in a very unnatural way. And I think that's what makes a lot of people frightened of clowns, and that gives them an evil aura about them.
It does. It does. Let's see. Okay. I mean, they look legitimately spooky. Okay, and I gotta wonder, is this guy just like sitting around in his house taking these pictures? I mean, from what I could take from, and I don't speak Spanish, and this is actually in English and Spanish, but a lot of these posts were in Spanish. I needed an interpreter, okay, when I was going through them. But
very
this was taken in a cemetery.
Yeah, it's very interesting that he took that in a cemetery, and that what I've always said, that's the prime area for demons. Okay, they love cemeteries, places of the dead. That does not surprise me a bit.
Well, several of these pictures were taken in cemeteries. Now, if I, just like with all of my ghost hunting equipment that I have, I do not turn it on in my house. Okay, I would not want to, because I feel like it kind of opens up a portal between you and the other realm, and my home is a safe space.
You do not want to get the attention of some things out there. Put it that way. Absolutely. It's a good idea if you're going to test out equipment and stuff like that. You need to do it away from your domicile, whatever that may be. That's like I said many times about doing even cryptid research. Okay. You protect yourself going out, and you protect yourself coming in. That includes where you're at that time and people that you're with. You have to be very, very careful, because, like I say, you get the attention of these things, and that can be very bad in many ways.
It can. And here's the thing, I don't want to know if I have a bunny rabbit man hanging out in my bedroom. Okay, I'd rather just not know. Because you start turning on your equipment in your house and stuff, and you get voices. That's just something that I'm not ready to. I'm ready to deal with it, but I just don't want that.
That rabbit thing sounds like a puka to me.
It does. Yeah. It does. Well, I'm going to keep showing pictures. I mean, I have a lot of pictures for today. I mean, that actually looks kind of like a Baphomet type of a creature as well, or some kind of wild boar or something.
Or a goat man. So like a goat man type thing, yeah. And, we've often talked about this, and goat man being an interesting cryptid. I'll just say this right quick. It has a satanic connection as well sometimes. Because that is the way demons and the devil supposedly, that's his image, the Baphomet. That's the way he supposedly appears to his followers. That's a goat man, if you look at it that way. I mean, that is representation of a goat man. And I've often said that the goat man is definitely, to me, has a satanic type side to it.
Oh yeah, it does, for sure. I think so too. I agree with that. And Renee says it's all about perception. Fear is a great influencer. That's right. That's exactly right. That's why I'm always saying, please don't live in fear. Overcome your fear.
These things use fear. Oh yeah, that's one of their weapons. Like I say, the imagery is what they create this with. That's why they're all about it. And they use it as a weapon, a tool for what they want to do to get the negative juice flowing. I call it the negative juice. Okay, they get that going. They feed off of that, and what fuels that? Fear and anxiety, and worry, and all these bad negative feelings fuels them. It's just like putting gas in your car,
Yes, yeah, like on that cartoon called Monsters Inc. That's how they fuel their town, and everything they do is by scaring kids in their bedrooms at night, and it gets that loosh. I like to call it loosh, okay, but that loosh, that energy force, and it's like the adrenalized, right? That's the word, adrenalized. So so that could be the case for this as well.
That's sort of a byproduct for them, that adrenaline flow.
Mm-hmm.
That attracts them to the blood. Definitely. They're all about blood. We've talked about that before. And you get the adrenaline flow going. That's like a narcotic to them. They can't get enough of it. It's like catnip with a cat, you know. They got to play with it all they can and utilize it. But what gets that adrenaline going? Fear.
Fear. Oh, that's an interesting comment. Edgar says, invert these pictures, then look. So it's all about, there is a little inversion and stuff going on too, which is, I mean, isn't that satanic? Like the inversion of things as well. So
well, some of these things may be the effect of the filters that this guy is using. I would love to talk to this man. Definitely, I would like to compare notes with him. I believe some of this stuff may be the filters that he is using that's causing some of these things. Here's the thing about filters, okay? And you got to remember this. You can get like half of an image of a filter and it doubles it. It doubles it. Sometimes it will triple it. And if you look at that right there, look at it. It looks like it's tripled 3 times. To me, it does. Some of this imagery, I think, could be the output of the filter. But some of it, I don't know. Some of it looks very substantial.
It does. Okay. Well, we have more. I mean, and these are just really odd looking, and so I'm loving some of the comments here. I'm trying to see what all the audience thinks about these things. Is it just, you can make out faces. That one definitely looks clownish. It looks like Pennywise to me from Stephen King's It. Okay, that's kind of the new version.
Some of this can be pareidolia, definitely some of it, because like the human mind is always looking for an image of some sort, whether it's a face or a pattern, whatever the situation is. Pareidolia can do that a lot, but some of this goes beyond pareidolia, I think. Not just all that.
Yeah, see that's, and this is another thing, because a lot of people are writing that these are mirrored images, and yes, I do believe these are mirrored images. So it's like a half a picture, and he just mirrors it, right? So, which is really interesting. Why would he only be picking up half of a picture though, like half of a face or half or whatever? I don't know. I'm not sure how he came up with all this, but I have been told, I have it on pretty good authority, that this kind of technology is actually not brand new, and something very similar has been used for a while.
Hey, there's another guy. There's another man. I cannot think of his name. He was on Lon Strickler's show one time, Phantoms of Monsters. This guy was taking images of aliens that he claimed were aliens coming in his room. He was doing it with a certain kind of a camera that was another one of those type of a slow motion camera. And it come out very much similar to some of this stuff here, you know. But and I kind of agree with the audience. Some of this is mirrored. You can very definitely tell if you look at it. But that it might be the thing, the filter he's using that's causing that. So if you look at half of that image, might be the true image of what really is there, because the filter may be mirroring it in that respect.
Okay. Well, okay, this is a great comment too. Mike Bearcat says, like doubling and inverting the King Charles painting that looked like Baphomet. That's what they love to do right in our faces. You know, and you can see Baphomet. And it's not just King Charles. I think there are other paintings of some of our former elected officials and things like that. Let's just say they have similar elements in their paintings as well, where you can mirror it and invert it.
You got to realize the eye of an artist is sort of a filter too. It just depends on what the way they want to see things. Look at the way that Van Gogh painted stuff, you know, and the cubistic arts and all that stuff. It just depends on the filter that the artist has on too, you know, sometimes.
That's right. And this is for entertainment purposes only, everyone. Just so y'all know. Thank you for the comments. I love how my audience reminds me to say it's just for entertainment purposes only. Just so we don't get in trouble.
That's the beginning of my show, just to get that out of the way. This is entertainment purposes only.
Thank you. I know. I don't know what I'd do without y'all. Thank you so much. for that. I mean, even this picture right here they look like Baphomet as well. Okay, now could it be pareidolia? Absolutely. Okay, it could.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, we just keep going. Okay, there's more. But wait, there's more. Well, look at this guy. I mean, this looks scary.
I wonder if you could turn that upside down, it might give you a different. I don't know if you can, but if you could turn that upside down, it might give you a better aspect of what that is. I don't know. That is odd looking. I'd like to say I would like to know what kind of filters he's using and what their effects are. And like I said before, I've experimented with this over the years, Jessica. I've done this with crystal balls, crystals, actually natural crystals. You get some weird, freaky imagery, but you don't really. Here's the thing about it: you don't really know. You can't really put your finger on that it is actually there, and it's not being created by the medium that you're using. Just like the guys using these filters or whatever else he's doing here. You got to ask this question: is it the real thing, or is it the technology doing that? You know. But like I said earlier about aura photography, we do know that exists and that is a lot of it is the electrical field that puts out around that. That right there, see, looks like a devil's head if you look at it the right way to me. But like I say, it looks also like a mirrored image. If you could fold that in half, you would see what I'm talking about.
For sure. Yes. Now, Urso says most likely the camera was converted to full spectrum first before the filters were applied. If that answers their question.
I have used full spectrum cameras, and they can do that. Absolutely, especially close-up things. It will do it more so than something further off. Full spectrum can do some freaky stuff, too. I've had to do some wild things. Full spectrum, though, can also be kind of misleading sometimes. It has a tendency sometimes to put too much of a flash on things or too much light it lets in or whatever the situation is, especially if you're using infrared light. I'd like to know what kind of light he's using here. It looks like blue light to me that he's using in this image here, and it's not infrared. I don't know. Like I say, I'd like to know he's very tight-lipped about how he's doing that, but I'd like to know. Really.
Okay, well, we were just talking last week about using the 3D glasses and stapling 2 sets of 3D glasses together and using those to be able to see UFOs in the sky. Things that are not seeable, viewable by our naked eyes.
I have used X-ray glasses like that, the ones you used to get at the movie house and all that. What you're doing with there is the red and blue spectrum of light. That's what you're playing around with. Those are filters too, if you look at it that way. You can also, if you put one over the other, although it makes it denser, it can do imagery very similar to this in some aspects. But you will actually have something there that you're looking at and not just something made by the filter itself. You understand?
Yes. This picture here looks like Lord, was it Farquaad or whatever his name is in Shrek? Little guy. To me, this looks like him.
That looks like Hashtag. That's kind of like Hashtag looking to me.
It does. Well, it also looks like it has little horns coming out the side of its head too, which is kind of demonic looking, if you ask me. But there's also, I mean, some of these it looks like something you would see, and I'm not saying I've done this, but I'm saying like if you were to take some sort of magic mushrooms or something, okay, like something you see if on a DMT type of thing.
That looks like Pinhead a little bit.
It does. And then we have these, like somebody had mentioned on this post, it says it looked like an angel, like a half angel, but to me that doesn't look like an angel.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mentioned the DMT stuff. Okay, and I know our body naturally produces DMT, but some people take artificial DMT, I guess, to take shamanic journeys, let's just say. some like medicine wise, I guess you could say, and meet entities like these. Okay, and they claim that a lot of these pictures that we're showing today look like the entities that they encounter, and some people call these things machine elves. And there's different categories of machine elves, and there are rumors that people at the big tech companies, okay, people higher up, heads of some of the departments and stuff, will do what's called microdosing on mind altering, let's say like drugs and stuff like DMT or something like that, and they go talk to these what they call machine elves, and they actually give them information on what they're doing, okay, like on in the technology field. And I actually I was told that by someone who worked for an automotive company in their tech department, and he said that some of the people that he worked with did that actually.
Well, I
So
think it's been my experience, Jessica, that the ghost in the machines, they always call it, that
mhm.
some of our technology can definitely be infiltrated and manipulated by outside forces, whatever name you want to give them. I just
Mhm.
wonder how much of this. Now look at that; it looks like a wolf's head kind of a thing.
Mhm.
I just wonder how much of this may have been manipulated, or it could be a moth too. By the way it looks, but you have to wonder. Take a look at that. That looks downright demonic, absolutely. But you have to wonder if this may be being manipulated from outside forces, and if this guy's being played with here. You know what I'm saying? By something else. Um, I have had a lot of instances over the years, and a lot of cases I've had where these things have really screwed around with technology and done things that you wouldn't believe. I mean, I've had dead phones ring. I've had a lot of weird sounds, noises come over microphones and stuff, and EVPs that were put out. They can do all kinds of stuff with your technology. It's like toys with a kid to them in a way. They love to play with it, and they love to play with you that way. It's a cat and mouse thing.
Yeah, and this if this doesn't freak you out, I don't know what does. This is probably the worst one to me. It looks
That's
like a
a
clown.
clown. That's a clown looking thing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's this was the scariest one. That's the last thing I want to see. Right there when I'm I mean anywhere. I mean I wouldn't want to have that technology in my house. Okay. But it would be interesting to be able. I mean, I have to wonder: is this what the people, the gentlemen who were fighting in Vietnam, when they put on the dicyanin dye goggles, they were freaking out. The men that were in the helicopters, it said that they were freaking out and were
Mhm.
shooting at the other helicopters because there were demonic entities flying beside their helicopters
When
that
you
no one else could see.
Here's another thing to consider, Jessica. When you're in war and you're close to death, okay, and let me say this, and I haven't found this to be an experience as well. The closer to the veil you get, the more you will see. That depends on, if you're like lying near death or you're dealing with death, you're in a place where there's a lot of death or trauma. You're naturally going to have things like I've had people come to me and ask me this: why do I see so many shadow people in a certain place? You come to find
Mhm.
out that place is a cemetery or a morgue or whatever. No wonder you're seeing stuff like that. You're closer to the veil. The closer you get to it, the weirder things happen.
Yeah, that's why I question where he took all these pictures. And it was specified in several of them that they were taken at a cemetery.
hmm Yeah, that would not be surprising to me.
Mhm.
Somebody asked me the other day. They kind of said, Dr. Carroll, where can I find some demons at? I said, just go to your local cemetery. You'll definitely probably find some there because that's where they like to hang out at. That's their prime territory. Or wherever there's pain, suffering, sorrow, a lot of tears are shed in cemeteries. A lot of pain and sorrow are felt in cemeteries. It is a big place for something like that. They love that. That draws them to it, like iron fillings to a magnet. They can't resist it. and that's where they hang out at. And yeah, you're going to see something similar to that, definitely in a cemetery. And that's why I warned a lot of people too. And we were talking about that the other day. You know, you don't pick up or bring anything home from a cemetery. It's not a good idea. If you see it there, let it be where it is. Okay, don't mess with it. A lot of times these things can have attachments to them. I have to wonder. I'd like to talk to this guy if he's had any kind of attachment problems messing around with this, because he's getting some very valid attention from these things. That's not good.
Yeah, well, apparently no one else is doing this and making it public. Okay, and he's one of the only people that I'm aware of. I was actually sent some of this. I was sent some of this information through Caleb Jade. Actually, I love Caleb to death, and we've got Chantel right here. Shanti's in the chat with Aquarius Rising Africa. Hey, Shanti, and she's asking, are these not Raphaim? I think I pronounced that right. What do you think about that, Dennis?
No, you're talking about Arkham,
Raphaim. I don't know what those like angels, some kind of like fallen angels or something. I don't even know.
Oh, the archangels or something.
Raphaim. Yes. Chantel knows. Maybe I should look. I know we've talked about that before, but I'm just not sure what those are.
The Acrons and the there's different types of things on that. Yeah, they're all.
I know Caleb knows.
Demonic.
Right. Yeah, probably demons then, huh? Okay. They look demonic for sure. And why wouldn't they be, I guess? I mean, this thing right here obviously does look quite demonic. And and my buddy Tony Merkel just had a show. He put out a really great podcast on clowns being the Nephilim. Like Nephilim clowns.
That's a grand, definitely. It looks like a grand.
It does.
That would be a very demonic imagery there, yeah. I'm gonna say this: I've actually seen human faces look like that, and the grin is not a happy grin. Okay, it looks like I say, very much like a clown. I have actually seen demonic imagery that looked like just maniacal, evil-looking clowns. That's the way they want to look because they know that frightens you. That frightens a certain amount of people. They can use that as fear imagery, I call it.
Oh, yeah. Candy Zippy, thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate that. That's very sweet of you. And also, Damien K, thank you for that super sticker. Best show ever. Love it. Thank you. We love you too. I appreciate it. Okay, let me go down to the comments real quick. Yeah, the demons. Eric says, remember, demons take the shape of your fear to feed off of it, to easily attach itself to you. So please don't live in fear, y'all. And we're showing this stuff. It is really creepy. It's probably best that we can't see this without the technology.
Mainly,
it's best because it could be all around us, Dennis. Do you think this is all around us all the time?
Demons are afraid of faith. Any kind of a faith that you have towards them. It's sort of like a shield around you. They don't want you to do that. And what destroys faith? Fear. That's the enemy of faith. That's what they use. They weaponize fear to do the things they want to do. That's exactly how they work. They're very good at it too. And like I say, they know what buttons to push. They know how to jerk your chain when they want to. I think, somebody asked me that the other day, can they read your mind? I don't think they can actually read your deepest thoughts, but I think they are super, super, super sensitive beings, and they can pick up on what you're thinking or what you're feeling. Whatever you think comes out in what? Your emotions. And that's why I want people to be very wary of your emotions, because these things pick up on that. And like I said before, it's just like if you ever done much horse riding, if you got to get on a horse, that horse can smell you're afraid of it and will take advantage of that. And the demonic is the same way. They can really sense where you're coming from and either use that or be afraid of it. If you're very strong, if you got a very strong output, that'll ward them off. if you have that very positive thing going on, they don't like that. That's just like shining light into the darkness. It dispels them. But if you the other way around, though, if you've got that fearful thing going on, you're a big target for them. That's just the way they
Mhm.
operate. And it would not surprise me if they didn't use this type of imagery on some people. Without doubt, if whatever scares you, it's like that lady said in the movie. We know what scares you. They know what scares you, and everybody has a
Mhm.
fear. I don't care. I've had a lot of people. Oh, I'm not scared of anything. That's a lie. Everyone has a deep-seated fear of some sort, whatever it may be, whether it's claustrophobia or fear of cats or fear of heights or whatever the situation is. They know that. They know that human beings are prone to fear, and they use that. They utilize it.
Oh yeah. You know what's odd is that I really honestly don't have a ton of fears. I really don't. But I do have one. I'm not a fan. Like I get sweat, my hands are getting sweaty thinking about it. Heights, like being up really high, and looking over a cliff or something. I just don't like it. I'm literally sweating right now thinking about it. But I love roller coasters. And I love being like the highest, tallest, craziest roller coaster. I love it. But I just don't like heights for some reason. Isn't that weird? So
Yeah. Well,
maybe
it's
it's because it's a controlled environment or something when I'm in a
yes.
roller coaster.
The roller coaster has that feeling to it, sort of getting the rug pulled out from under you real quick.
I love that. Yeah,
That dip,
I don't
it's that
mind
dip
it.
that gets you. Uh, it's fun going up, but it's that dip coming down that gets you.
That's the best part.
But
Yeah.
you got to understand that's where the demonic is coming from. And here's one more thing about them. If you want to take, and I've told this to many people before, we'll say this to everybody listening today. If you want to take the power away from them, don't acknowledge them. Don't give them any attention. That's what they want. And that's what, you do. You got, and that's a weird, I know it sounds like weird advice, but you've got to ignore them as much as possible. That's the way it goes. Prisons are especially active with demonic. Oh yeah, wherever there's
Oops.
trauma, and that includes hospitals for the insane, for the criminally insane, or trauma centers. The list goes on and on. That's where you're going to encounter these things. That's the darkness is waiting for you there. Be very careful.
Oh yeah. I am not a fan of like I mean I don't really do ghost hunting, but the worst place to go ghost hunting, and it's actually the best if you're a ghost hunter, it's a insane asylum or some sort of like a psychiatric hospital. And I believe there's a psychiatric hospital where I'm going this weekend. An abandoned one. It's in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. There's some I don't remember the name of it, but it's pretty famous because a lot of ghost hunters go there in South Pittsburgh.
I
I'm not
was
going there, by the way, but there's
I
a
was
lot of Bigfoots around there.
I was on a TV show in an asylum in North Carolina. Grandfather Mountain is not too far. You could actually see Grandfather Mountain. So it's asylum. It's not there anymore now. They tore it down. But that was one of the most strongest and evil demonic entities I've seen in a long time. Was in that hospital. It attacked a whole team of people, not just one person. Um, I was there when they did the TV show on it, and they called me in to consult with them on it. They had some bad trouble with this thing. Unfortunately, they wouldn't take a lot of my advice. If they'd only done that, they could have saved themselves a lot of trouble. But you never know where you're going to run into these at. But there are certain places you can definitely watch out for them.
Oh, yeah. Definitely watch out for them for sure. And I stay away from psychiatric hospitals as far as ghost hunting goes, like abandoned hospitals and like even like Waverly Hills Sanatorium and sanatoriums. That's the word. Sanatoriums. I don't know. You got to be almost insane to go to an abandoned sanatorium to go ghost hunting. I would just assume that's where you would get the most attachments, Dennis, would be somewhere like that. So
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
it's just a word of precaution here. But
You know,
okay, Freedom Lover says I took a photo of side of the lake on a mountain road in British Columbia, and when I developed the photo, I saw all these entities extremely similar to what we're showing today. Whoa. That's interesting. I wonder if just like a regular camera could pick these things up too. I guess you just got to know the process, I guess, of how the pictures develop.
Any technology like that has a ability sometimes to pick up things. You just have to be in the right place at the right time, or is it the wrong place, the wrong time, whichever way you're gonna look at it. But we have been trying to look into these spectrums from a long time. Just like this year with the hagstone that I showed you earlier. The hagstone is, according to legend, it is a naturally holed rock. In other words, you find this rock on seashores or by lakes, and nature has put a hole in it. Supposedly, you're able to see into the veil. You're supposed to be able to see the fae and stuff like that, and ghosts or shadows and all that. We have always tried to see things, and we call that, in paranormal parlance, that's called the sideways look, looking sideways. Now, what that means is that if you've ever seen shadow beings, and I think you've experienced that, Jessica, I think we all have one time or another, it's always at your peripheral vision. So off to the side. That's why we call it the side, looking sideways. You look sideways, what was that? I saw something, what was that? That's just the way these things go and the way they operate. Although sometimes they'll be in full sight. You can see them occasionally right in front of you. You can't mistake them. But I think a lot of things have the ability to catch this sideways look once in a while. And that includes cameras, video cameras, binoculars, telescopes, whatever the situation is. Whenever you're dealing with a lens, it enhances your eye. Okay? Just like this guy with a camera and the filters, and he's doing all this. It enhances the human eye in order to see things that it normally sometimes might not see. But once in a while, that happens naturally, And here's another thing that you got to take into account. If you're your mind is more set open to these things, you have more chance of picking up on it. In other words, if you're an open-minded person, your mindset is set towards it, you will notice these things more than some people will, It's just a lot of times it's just how your setup is.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And we also have a really interesting question here from Richard Goforth. Hello, Richard. What happens if you cross over to another dimension? Can you get back? Well, I believe that we do cross over dimensions while we're dreaming and while we're doing, like when I do remote viewing as well. We're traveling. We're not just of this physical body, right, Dennis?
I think that might be what happens to a lot of people that disappear in this world. Okay. I'm not saying all of them, but I think that may be some things that happen. And I think if you do if you got to think about this, okay, a moment. Remember the different dimensions. You got up, down, sideways. You got space and time. That's the dimension, okay? But what if you go into some other weird, bizarre, uncanny dimension out there? You're completely off kilter. You could be in an upside down, sideways kind of a world or something. Who knows what? But I have actually seen people experiment with cameras and stuff that have actually picked up. And they did this with mirrors. And I've said this about mirrors. And we know you and I did a show on mirrors not too long ago. Mirrors are freaky, freaky things, okay? I've actually seen maybe where they have looked through dimensions with mirrors and see somewhere else that was completely far away from where they were at. I think there was one where they actually saw a warehouse somewhere, and this was a huge warehouse. It looked like it went on for miles. It's kind of like the one from Indiana Jones, It was a big warehouse. It looked like a government warehouse. I don't know. But anyway, they could see this through the mirror. So here's the interesting thing. If you can see it, now think about this a moment. If you can see it, could you also step over into it?
Yeah, sounds like the back rooms. My son talks about the back rooms all the time. He used to. There's something, I don't even know what those are. It's something online. But it's almost like stepping into another dimension. There's a video of a woman that went through the mirror and ended up in the back rooms and was never seen again. It's pretty terrifying. It's almost like hell or something to me. Okay. Because that would be a big fear, wouldn't it? Like getting stuck in a warehouse that has no end and no beginning, and you don't know where you're at, and you're just lost. That would be horrible. It would be a really bad feeling.
Look what happened to Alice. Okay. She went through the looking glass. And it is a very strange thing, and I've told this to people before. It's not a good idea to cross mirrors, because it's almost like opening a portal or a door. What is a portal? It's nothing but an entrance to another dimension. That's what it basically is. And I think, without a doubt, I found this out in my career. I've been exploring this stuff for well over half a century now. Okay. And it's been my experience that there definitely are other realms beyond us. And I think that these things are right here with us. We just can't see them. There is a spiritual thing, if you want to call it that, spiritual thing around us that we can't see. Sometimes, though, we get a glimpse. Folks should never entertain such places. Exactly. Be very careful, because you would not want to go into a place like that, because I think you pass certain ways, you pass a point of no return when you enter into places like that. You may not be able to get back, no matter how hard you want to come back, no how bad you want to. You may not be able to come back. I always think about that Twilight Zone episode, The Little Girl Lost. Remember that? Where the little girl fell through the wall in her bedroom? They could hear her, and finally the family dog went in and got her. Because here's the interesting aspect of all this. They couldn't go in and get the little girl because they didn't know what they were going to face. They were in another dimension, completely different thing altogether. But the dog didn't pay any attention to that and could go to the girl and bring her back. We couldn't do that because we would have been lost in that dimension because of the fact of our minds.
Okay? In your head.
Comprehend it. The dog didn't pay any attention to it. He just went in and got the little girl and took her and brought her back out. That's interesting. If you fell into something like that, I just don't think you would be able to get back. Some people have told me, I've actually talked to some people, Jessica. They said they have actually run into portals, and I have to wonder how deep they went into them because they came back. The deeper and further you go into these dimensions, the further and further you may go from home.
Okay, that's true. And so I've got a couple of things. Poltergeist, that movie with Carol Ann, when she was on the other side of like the television, and they're like saying, "Carol Ann, please come home, go to the light, Carol Ann." That's something that really scared me when I was a kid. Not to mention my grandfather used to, and they built their house on an Indian burial ground, by the way. But my grandfather used to scare me at night. He was a great dude. I love my grandfather, best man ever lived. Okay. But he would do stuff that would, he and my grandmother both, he used to sneak down the hall. Like I'd stay in their guest room when I'd spend the night at their house, and he would start knocking on the wall, and he'd say, "Let me out, let me out." And he said that there was a little boy who lived in the wall at their house. And so I thought there was a little boy in the wall when I was a kid. Yeah, it was fun. I had an interesting childhood. Okay. And, but it was fun. I eventually realized that was my granddaddy. Okay.
I'm gonna have to get together with you one day. We're going to write a book. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, okay. And then also going back to that question that was asked about what happens if you go into another dimension, can you get out? Well, we also have projects that our government has worked on. That there have been whistleblowers who have come out and said they've been part of these programs, such as Project Pegasus, the Montauk Project as well, where they're dealing with things like time travel and timelines. And I would assume those are just different dimensions, like different planes of existence, right? Where they can look at things like the looking glass technology, even the chronovisor potentially. And they say that you could pick out the different timelines and decide which timeline you want to go with. It's almost like the Mandela effect.
Here's the interesting thing, Jessica. We've all got one of those in our living room. It's called a TV. When the screen's off, it's black. You got reflections in it. It is just like a mirror, okay, in that respect. And you would not believe how many cases I've had that people have actually seen things and then turned off TVs now. They've actually seen images in that. And several of them have been images of deceased people that they knew. You're scrying here. You know what scrying is? That's sort of a scrying thing if you think about it in that respect. Your TV, your computer monitor, or your TV can definitely substitute for that. You know, you gotta wonder. You know, if you get too close to the screen, what might happen to you sometime. Um, but it's almost as if these are portals that are utilized by different forces out there.
Weaponized portals.
All that stuff.
Weaponized portal. The TV could be a weaponized portal. I talk about weaponized portals several times, and I was asked, well, how could a portal be weaponized? Well, let's just see your television, friend. Gosh, that's terrifying, Renee. But we talked about the clones and stuff, Dennis. We've talked about cloning and putting dark entities into the bodies of clones.
These forces would consider us like cattle. Okay, there are, and I'm not going to get into that today. That's something for another show, another time. But there are forces out there that consider us less than cattle. They consider us blood cattle in many aspects. Okay, we're just sacrificial stuff to them. We're just commodities to be used. Put it that way. And that's not good because you're talking about human beings here. People with souls, feelings. That's not good at all. But that's the way they consider us. Okay. And it doesn't bother them how they use us, whatever way it may be. That's not good. And it's definitely downright evil in my book, no matter which way you look at it. But there are certain forces, and I'm talking about human and otherwise, that deal with humanity in this fashion. It's almost like Soylent Green. I saw a chart the other day. Where are we at with all the different sci-fi movies? The needle is sitting on Soylent Green right now.
Ew.
Will be for
it's
these
people. Yeah.
These entities, though, these demonic entities, we are vessels to a certain extent. We're just something to be used. But I think also this is a two-way street. They're getting their jollies through us too. They're getting to sense things that they can't sense in their own reality. They're using us that way because we are beings of emotion and mental and physical and spiritual. They use us in every way possible like that. That's why we're vessels for them. We don't want to be vessels, though. We are human beings. We have a soul. We should not be vessels or anything like that.
No, we're sovereign. And man, we have an all-star lineup in our live chat today. We have Arkeem Ra in the chat. We've got Chantel in the chat. We got Barry Littleton in the chat. We got Eric in the chat. We got all sorts of people in the chat. We got my buddy Kenny's in the chat with the NADP. Everybody in the chat is all stars, by the way. All of y'all are stars. Okay. But a lot of people that have been on the shows are here in the chat today. So I want to say, what's up, y'all? Thank you so much for being here. Speaking of portals, I actually had remote viewed for Arkeem the jump gate to Mars and a jump gate to Venus, actually. And he was part of the Montauk program as well. So really interesting that we're talking about this today. Okay. Very interesting. And we have a question for you right now. Let's see if I can get it. The comments are going fast. Barry is asking, Dennis, what do you know about the tulpa? Would you like to cover that? Because that actually has some things. It relates to what we're talking about.
When you get into manifestation, you're getting deep into dark witchcraft. In that respect, because spells, hexes, stuff like that use manifestation to get the things they want to do. You have to be very careful. It's like that old saying, be careful what you wish for, you just may get it. That's the way the tulpa goes. It can be something that you manifest. It can be something good. Sometimes it can be something very bad. It depends on what you're trying to manifest, but it's not, you have to be very careful with it, what you're doing. Because you're actually creating something in that respect, and it can very badly affect you. It's also very much like astral projection, and I warn people about that a lot. You don't want to play around with that too much because it can lead to some very bad outcomes and so can tulpas. They can actually turn on you. I think some of these doppelgangers that we hear about and so-called clones and all that may be tulpas, you know.
For sure, they're artificial humans, is what they're. And I talked about that with Chantel with Aquarius Rising Africa yesterday. We talked about that a little bit with the artificial humans. That's one of the only. Well, I've had like 2 videos taken off of Facebook, just deleted by Facebook, and one of those was about the artificial humans. Okay, and the Cabbage Patch. And that's something that Brown Dwarf's in the chat too. What's up, Brown? He says, is anyone at work? No, everybody's at work with their earbuds in. Okay.
there are supposedly beings, and we've talked about this before, that are walking around out there that look human, but they have no soul.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the real deal. Okay, that's just, you know, they may look like it, but they're not. They're not the real deal. And there are some human beings who have gone over into that category, whether they were created that way or they actually became that way. And I've talked about this before. And, you know, I've also talked about under direct demonic influence that these things work on as well. Your soul is gone. You're a soulless being. You are one of the most dangerous things walking this planet. People have to understand these are the guys that shoot up schools and do all kinds of stuff like that. They have gotten to the point of no return. They don't care. You are not a human being to them. They have absolutely no feeling for you. You'll climb on the roof of a building and shoot somebody just because they're running for president. It doesn't matter to you what you do. You have no feeling for these individuals. You've lost your humanity. You no longer have a soul. When you go too far over into the darkness, that's the price you will pay.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the recurring question. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean? And Scott says that he has hundreds of doppelgangers. He's the real Slim Shady. Okay, he's the real Slim Shady. That's one of my son's favorite songs, by the way. That's too funny. And yet we do actually, a lot of people, I know Brown Dwarf was asking, is anybody at work? A lot of people are probably retired in here too, in the chat, or just on lunch breaks, right? Everybody's on a lunch break. So yeah, this is personal.
Let me say this about doppelgangers. There are certain cases where demonic entities have appeared as people's doppelgangers and done things. That's not good to think about too. What if somebody that looks like Jessica shows up one day and robs a store or something? You're gonna have to answer for that, and it wasn't you that did it. You know, that's the bad part. There have been cases like that where the demonic has used doppelgangers. That's freaky.
Really? Well, now we have like the mask that people wear. We've got clones. There's all sorts of stuff. The CGI. Who knows what's what anymore? That's why it's so important for you to go with your gut and use your intuition and do things like remote viewing and tapping into your psychic abilities, because that's what's going to get you through the rest of our lives. Okay. And all these weird, crazy times that we're in right now, we're going to have to probably start going back to things like telepathy and telepathic communication and mind speak to each other and stuff. Seriously, because that's part of our enhanced human capabilities. We all have the ability to use those, and it's time right now to start tapping into that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, we all have a spirit meter built into us. Okay,
yeah.
Well, we need to pay attention to that. On a lot of, if something don't feel right, go with that. Go with your gut feeling, because sometimes most of the time that's right. You know. But be very careful of your emotions, though. Don't let your emotions get in the way of something. Especially like the very big emotions of fear and anxiety or whatever. Don't let those emotions rule you. Try to think clearly and get in touch with what you're feeling and understand what it is that you're dealing with. I think that's why even the Holy Scriptures say, they admonishes us to test the spirits. That's a very interesting observation there. test the spirits. We need to see what we're dealing with. If you meet an individual that doesn't feel like they're human to you, pay attention to that. There's something going on. You're picking up on, and like you say, we all have that inherent ability. It's there, although some of us dampen it, and we put a halter on it. When we shouldn't really. We need to open up to it and understand. People who have a more open conscience to these things understand. Man, I've had so many people come to me, Jessica, and say, "Why am I seeing these things? Why am I experiencing this stuff?" I tell them very quickly, it's because you're sensitive to it. And you're just made that way. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry. You need to learn to deal with it and live with it, but you're made that way. That's the way you're made. We're all made like that. We all have that ability. We just need to get in touch with it on a more personal level.
We do. And as humans, we are capable of also taking on dark entities within us as well. So keep your vibrational frequency high. I have literally watched as some kind of dark force, I'm going to say demonic force, jump from person to person in my life. And I saw it was the exact same entity. The exact same entity went from one person to the next to the next. And I have literally witnessed it firsthand. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not going to expose who it was, okay? But I've seen it. It went through at least 5 different people that I know.
That's true. And
keep your vibe high.
That's what faith is, a positive outlook, a positive thinking. That positivity is what trumps the negative every time,
Yep.
And they don't like that. They don't want you to know that secret, okay? They don't want you to understand that truth because that's what repels them. As I always like to say the old Southern term, like water off a duck's back, okay? You want to be waterproof with these guys, and I'm talking spiritually here, okay? You want to foster that, absolutely. And the way you do that is with the mindset of the positive and the good thoughts that you have, doing good deeds, thinking about good stuff. Get away from that negative stuff, okay? If somebody comes into your life with a negative outlook, walk away from you. Nobody's holding a gun to your head and making you stay there. You need to walk away from it. You need to get away from that situation because it's not healthy spiritually, mentally, physically, or emotionally for you to stay around something like that. You need to distance yourself. You need to seek that inner peace that is yours, and that combats these things to a great extent and keeps them away from you. And like I said earlier about ignoring them, the more acknowledgement you give them, the more power you give them. Don't do that. Don't feed the beast.
That's good advice. That's what I say too. Don't feed the beast. And Urso has an interesting question. Do you think, Jessica, if you enter a portal here, there's a doppelganger left in your place to preserve balance like matter and antimatter? That's a question that I think Barry Littleton, Barry's in the chat, could answer something like that. Because we talked about Mel's hole, for instance, and I think he called it the Doppler cylinder or something like that. And with let's just say, for instance, like the dog that was thrown down into Mel's hole, and then it was seen walking out in town weeks later or months later, and it's almost like it was a replica, almost like a parallel universe. And that's what we're talking about with all this today, with the multidimensional entities, even the machine elves. We're talking about parallel universes, right? Parallel worlds. And maybe so, yeah, maybe there's a bunch of me. I mean, there obviously are a bunch of us out there in different planes, and I think that's like when we have like timeline shifts and stuff, right?
I got something interesting for you to and our audience to think about today. Okay, if the string theory is correct, and there are multiple timelines here, that means there are multiple Jessica Jones in those timelines. There are multiple yous out there. Okay, and if they cross over or touch, there can be a transference. So think about this a moment. Things that you think you may have experienced and what you think may have been another life may be the echoes of other timelines. You may be picking up on these memories and these feelings, and that may be a lot of times why we have that Mandela effect, because something is different in one timeline we're remembering it in another timeline. We're connected conscious-wise to our own selves in all these different realities. You understand? I think that's going on a lot. I think there's a possibility this may be happening with the Mandela effect, with what we think may have been past lives and memories from other lives and all this other stuff. I think these may be the echoes of the memories of other timelines that we exist in.
Absolutely. I remember specifically Chick-fil-A being spelled C-H-I-K, filet. And I always bring that up, don't I? I don't know my audience knows. That's like my go-to Mandela effect, because it still irks me to this day. Chick-fil-A now is C-H-I-C-K, filet.
Yeah.
And that just was not my reality. And I love that saying. My friend Tanya Braddock, I hadn't talked to her in a while. I need to.
I always thought it was
not my reality.
I always thought it was Chick-fil-A with no A on it. That's the way I always thought.
Really?
Yeah.
That wasn't your reality. That was in your last timeline.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is what I remember.
I believe we are experiencing that. I really do believe it, because that would explain, if you look at that, that would explain a whole lot of things, paranormal and otherwise, going on in our reality. If you think about it, these things are crossing over, and our conscious is picking up on it. Okay. Although we may not be fully blown, some people are, though, but maybe the average person is not fully blown their conscious out to be able to pull a lot of these signals in. I think they bleed over in us no matter what happens. I think that would be a plausible explanation for a lot of the stuff going on in this universe.
Oh, yeah. Ace Banner. Okay, I remember it's Sex in the City. Sex in the City is what I remember. So I think it's in the city now, but yeah, and then Shazam. I mean, there's all sorts. We could go on for days on just Mandela effects, because we all remember, a lot of us remember different things, but you can tell who's been on your timeline, that's for sure, on your last one, when you start talking about this stuff. Well, this has been a wonderful show, Dennis. This has been amazing. I wish that we had longer to talk a little more about this. But my alarm just went off. And Dan, by the way, it is 2:20 here in the Eastern United States. He was asking what time it is. I think he's in England. Okay, in Great Britain somewhere. It is 2:20 p.m. here where I am and where Dennis is. Dennis, tell the audience where they can find you and about your shows that you have, like especially your show tonight. What you have on the agenda?
Okay, yes, tonight I will be doing Hunting the Shadows. That'll be 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Hunting the Shadows YouTube channel. We'll be talking about spiritual wickedness in high places tonight on Hunting the Shadows. And Friday night will be Paranormal Point of View at 9:00 p.m. I now have membership open. If anybody wants to be a member and hunt the shadows with me, you can do so on Hunting the Shadows. And my books are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and you can reach me at DennisWCurl.com.
Wonderful. Yeah, we'll be in that chat tonight. You guys be sure to go hop in the live chat. His chat's just as hopping as this one is. And we have a good time over there. And I know it's going to be a wonderful show. It always is, Dennis. Do you have any final thoughts on the multidimensional entity imaging technology today?
I think a lot more research needs to be done in this area, definitely. And I think it's fascinating stuff. And I think NASA ought to really be looking into this, because this kind of a technology would also enhance their ability to perhaps find life on other planets. They really need to look at it closer. Definitely.
Yes. Okay, I just remembered something too. That's a wonderful way to end the show tonight. Thank you so much, Dennis. I do want to do a giveaway today. So everybody in the audience, before the show, Dennis and I, or actually Dennis picked a number between, what do we say, 1 and 200, right, Dennis? A number between 1 and 200. You guys put a number in the chat, okay? Put a number in the chat. And between 1 and 200, okay? And I'm going to have to cut the show here in just a minute. So try to get your numbers in as soon as you can. If you don't, if the show ends before you get your number in there, put it in the comments after the show today. And I'll give it about, I don't know, I'll give it about 15 minutes after the show. How about that? 15 minutes after the show today. That'll be around 2:45. Let's just say by 2:45 Eastern, I'm going to cut it off. But y'all put a number in there, and if anybody gets Dennis's number or whoever gets closest to it gets a gift of Cryptid Huntress merch to celebrate our 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Okay, so yeah, between 1 and 200. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today and for joining us. This has been a wonderful show. We've had a big, nice turnout with an all-star chat today. And of course, my all-star co-host, Dr. Dennis Carroll here. I always enjoy having you, Dennis. Thank you so much. Y'all know, oh yeah, everybody, it all just makes everything just come together so well. And this was a wonderful topic, something I had not covered with these pictures before of these multidimensional entities. So y'all please stay safe out there. Come back and see me tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be back with the remote viewing show for you guys tomorrow. So I'll see y'all there, and I'll see you in Dennis's chat tonight. Y'all get your numbers in. I'll give you till 2:45 to get the numbers in. Put them in the comments after the show, and whoever wins will announce it tomorrow night. Okay. You guys have a great day. Stay safe. And keep your head on a swivel, lock those doors. And thanks for all the input. I'll see you tonight, Dennis. Thank you for being here. All right.